The message came at 3:17 a.m. Earth Standard Time. It pierced through the usual cosmic background noise that Earth's deep space monitoring stations filtered through daily. This was different, urgent, repeating, and clearly artificial. In his quarters aboard the orbital command station Vigilant, Admiral James Wilson's sleep cycle was interrupted by the harsh buzz of his emergency communicator. He reached for it with practiced efficiency, the grogginess of sleep instantly replaced by military alertness. "Wilson here," he said, sitting upright. "Sir, we've detected an unknown signal pattern from Sector 87, reported the night shift communications officer. It's broadcasting on all frequencies. The translation matrix suggests it's a distress call." Wilson dressed quickly. 15 minutes later, he strode onto the command deck where several officers huddled around the central holographic display. The strange signal pulsed in visual form, a complex pattern unlike anything in Earth's extensive database of known transmissions. "What do we know?" Wilson asked, his voice carrying the quiet authority that had earned him command of Earth's defensive forces. Lieutenant Anna Rivera, head of Signal Intelligence, stepped forward. Her dark eyes reflected the blue glow of the display as she manipulated the controls. "The signal originated approximately 37 light-years from our position, sir. It's been traveling for about 4 years, but the quantum entanglement signature suggests it was designed to reach multiple systems simultaneously." "Content?" Wilson asked. "We've run it through the advanced translation matrix," Rivera replied. "It appears to be from something called the Galactic Confederation. They're under attack by an aggressive force. The message specifically requests Earth's assistance." A heavy silence fell over the command deck. Earth had developed significant space travel capabilities over the past century, establishing colonies throughout the solar system and sending exploratory missions to nearby stars. But they had never made contact with other intelligent life. At least, not officially. "They're asking for us specifically." Wilson's brow furrowed. "How do they even know we exist?" Dr. Ben Miller, the station's xenobiologist, cleared his throat. "That's the interesting part, Admiral. According to the translated message, they've known about us for quite some time. They've been observing Earth from a distance." Wilson's expression darkened. "For how long?" "Centuries, possibly millennia," Miller replied. "The message refers to humans as Deathworlders. Apparently, Earth is classified as a high-gravity, high-danger planet compared to most life-sustaining worlds." The command deck erupted in murmurs until Wilson raised his hand for silence. "There's more," Rivera continued. "The message claims that the Confederation is made up of dozens of peaceful species that evolved on relatively safe worlds. They've avoided contact with us because they feared our natural adaptations to Earth's harsh environment might make us dangerous." Wilson processed this information with the calculated calm that had become his trademark. "And now they need those dangerous qualities." "Yes, sir," Rivera nodded. "The attacking force, they call it the Void Swarm, has overwhelmed their defenses. The Confederation's weapons and tactics are primitive by our standards. They evolved without significant predators or the need for warfare. So they kept us in isolation until they needed our help," Wilson said, his voice carrying a hint of bitterness. "Show me the full message." The holographic display shifted, showing a translation of the alien plea. The desperate tone was clear even through the computer's rendering. Billions of lives across multiple systems hung in the balance. Wilson studied the message carefully. Earth's history was filled with wars and conflicts, but the unified government formed after the resource wars had created something unprecedented: peace on a planetary scale. Still, Earth maintained its military, believing that the vastness of space might one day bring threats. Now that moment had arrived, though not in the way anyone expected. Wilson straightened his uniform and looked at the officers around him. "Contact the Security Council immediately. We have a decision to make." Within hours, the alert status changed across all Earth military installations. Ships were recalled from patrol, weapons systems activated, and reserve forces mobilized. The Deathworlders were answering the call. The United Earth Security Council chamber buzzed with tension. 12 representatives from Earth's major regions sat around a circular table, their faces illuminated by the soft blue glow of holographic displays. Admiral Wilson stood at the center, his uniform crisp despite the early hour. "The signal is authentic," Wilson concluded, after presenting the evidence. "We're dealing with first contact, and simultaneously, a request for military aid." Council Chairwoman Maria Okafor leaned forward. "After centuries of wondering if we were alone, we discover that aliens not only exist, but have been watching us all along." Her voice carried both wonder and caution. "And now they need our help." "The real question," said Councilman Robert Lee, "is whether we should provide it." Captain Lisa Reed listened from her position near the wall. As commander of the UES Defiance, Earth's most advanced battleship, she knew why she had been summoned. The Defiance represented humanity's cutting edge, a perfect blend of firepower, speed, and tactical systems. "Captain Reed," Wilson called, gesturing her forward. "Your assessment." Reed stepped into the light. At 42, she had earned her command through 20 years of exemplary service. Her short brown hair framed a face marked by both intelligence and determination. The Defiance was built for exactly this type of situation, she stated plainly. Unknown threats, extended deployment, first contact protocols. My crew is the best Earth has to offer. "And if it's a trap?" Councilman Lee challenged. Reed met his gaze steadily. "Then we'll be ready for that too." The debate continued for another hour before Chairwoman Okafor called for a vote. The decision was made. Earth would respond to the distress call. In the intelligence center below the council chambers, Officer Tom Grant hunched over his workstation. Surrounding him were screens displaying every possible analysis of the alien message. Grant had a reputation for seeing patterns others missed. His fingers flew across the interface, isolating fragments of the signal, comparing transmission methods to known technologies. "Officer Grant," the voice called. He looked up to see Captain Reed approaching. "Captain." He straightened. "I've been analyzing the signal structure." "Tell me something useful," Reed said. Grant nodded and pulled up a new display. "The attackers, this void swarm, they're not a unified species like the Confederation. Based on signal references, they seem to be some kind of collective organism. Multiple forms sharing a hive consciousness." Reed studied the display. "Weaknesses? Hard to say without direct observation," Grant admitted. "But the message contains tactical data suggesting the swarm operates like a true hive. Damage one part, and others respond to defend it. Cut off a section from the whole, and it becomes disoriented." Reed nodded. "Like ants separated from their colony." "Exactly. But these ants can travel through space and apparently consume entire planets for resources." Reed's lips pressed into a thin line. "Keep digging. I want everything you can give me before we depart." The diplomatic wing of the United Earth headquarters had never hosted a non-human visitor. Now, through a secure quantum communication line, the face of Ambassador Keeler filled the screen. Keeler's appearance was startlingly alien, iridescent skin stretched over a narrow face, with 4 eyes positioned in a diamond pattern. Yet the expression of hope was unmistakably familiar. "The Confederation thanks Earth for its response," Keeler said, the translation software converting alien sounds to human language with only slight delays. "We have monitored your development for many cycles." "Why keep your distance?" asked Deputy Foreign Secretary Diane Patel. Keeler's upper eyes blinked in what seemed like discomfort. "Your species evolved on a world we classify as extreme. High gravity, atmospheric toxins, dangerous predators, extreme temperature variations. Most Confederation species developed on worlds with stable conditions and few threats. So we're the dangerous ones," Patil observed. "Your natural capabilities exceed most Confederation species," Keeler admitted. "Your skeletal density alone would make you formidable. Add your evolved traits, your endurance, your ability to withstand pain, your aggressive problem-solving. These qualities were concerning. But now they're assets, Pytel noted. Indeed. All four of Killer's eyes fixed on her. The Void Swarm has consumed 17 worlds. Conventional Confederation defenses have failed. We need Deathworlders. As the diplomatic team continued their exchange, Captain Reed received her official orders. Assemble a response fleet, make contact with Confederation forces, and push back the Void Swarm. The clock was ticking. Within 48 hours, Earth would launch its first official mission beyond known space, not for exploration, but for war. The massive hangar bay of Earth's orbital shipyard buzzed with activity. Maintenance drones weaved through the air like metallic insects while uniformed personnel rushed between vessels. The atmosphere was charged with purpose, humanity preparing for its first interstellar military operation. Lieutenant Mark Davis stood on an observation platform, watching as the fleet took shape below. At 34, Davis had earned a reputation as one of Earth's finest tactical specialists. His ability to analyze combat scenarios and develop effective counter-strategies had caught Captain Reed's attention 3 years ago. Impressive, isn't it? A voice said beside him. Davis turned to see engineer Kate Williams approaching. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical bun, and her uniform bore the patches of the technical division. 27 vessels, Davis replied, gesturing to the ships below. The largest gathering of military firepower in human history. Williams nodded, and every one of them needs modifications. She handed him a tablet displaying schematics. Based on the data from the Confederation, our standard weapons won't be as effective against the Void Swarm's biology. Davis studied the diagrams with growing interest. You're adjusting the radiation frequency. Exactly. Williams pointed to specific sections of the schematics. The swarm entities have an unusual cellular structure. They've evolved to withstand most forms of damage, but they're surprisingly vulnerable to specific radiation bands. How long until the modifications are complete? For the Defiance, 12 hours. The rest of the fleet, 36 at most. Williams looked at him with determination in her eyes. We'll be ready. In the Tactical Planning Center of the Defiance, Captain Reed reviewed the assembled crew profiles. Each person had been selected not just for their skills, but for their psychological profiles, their ability to adapt to the unknown. The doors slid open, and a tall, slender alien entered, escorted by 2 human security officers. Reed immediately recognized Ambassador Keeler from the video communications. Captain Reed, Keeler said with a slight bow. It is an honor to meet you in person. Reed returned the gesture. Ambassador, I didn't expect you to join us on Earth. I requested special permission to travel here via our fastest transport, Keeler explained. I believed it essential to provide direct coordination for this mission. Reed gestured for the ambassador to approach the tactical display. Then perhaps you can help us understand what we're facing. Keeler moved forward with a strange, fluid grace that reminded Reed that despite the ambassador's humanoid appearance, they were fundamentally different beings. The Void Swarm, Keeler began, touching controls on the display with elongated fingers. They emerged from deep space approximately 1 standard year ago. They consume all organic and many inorganic materials, converting them to expand their numbers. The display showed recordings of the swarm, dark, shifting masses that moved with disturbing coordination, breaking apart and reforming as needed. Reed watched silently as footage showed a lush, Earth-like planet. The next recording, dated 3 weeks later, showed the same world stripped to bare rock. Our weapons have limited effect, Keeler continued. The Confederation evolved as peaceful species. Our technology focused on creation rather than destruction. And this is why you meet humans, Reed concluded. Yes, Keeler's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Your species' natural inclination toward warfare, while frightening, is precisely what the situation requires. On the Defiance's main hangar deck, Williams supervised the final weapons modifications. Nearby, Davis briefed the combat teams on expected engagement scenarios. Throughout the ship, crew members made final preparations, checked equipment, and said private goodbyes to loved ones through communication terminals. In orbit around Earth, the other vessels of the response fleet took up formation. From the sleek destroyers to the heavily armored carriers, each represented the pinnacle of human military engineering. Admiral Wilson's voice echoed through all ships simultaneously. "This is Admiral Wilson to all fleet vessels. In 1 hour, we will depart on humanity's first mission to defend another intelligent species. You have been chosen because you represent the best of what humanity has to offer. The journey ahead will take us into unknown territory, against an enemy unlike any we have faced." He paused momentarily before continuing. "Remember your training. Trust your instincts, and show the galaxy what it means when Deathworlders answer the call. Wilson out." As the message ended, the fleet's engines began to glow with building energy. The Defiance, at the formation's center, initiated its revolutionary warp drive sequence. Across every ship, humans prepared to venture beyond known space, not as explorers, but as warriors answering a desperate plea. The human fleet emerged from warp space in a brilliant flash of blue light. The transition was smoother than expected. Engineer Williams' modifications to the drive systems had paid off. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Reed stood from her command chair, eyes fixed on the main view screen. "Status report," she ordered calmly. "All ships present and accounted for, Captain," the communications officer responded. "Minor power fluctuations in 3 vessels, but nothing critical." Reed nodded. "And our location?" Lieutenant Davis consulted his tactical display. "We've arrived at the coordinates provided by Ambassador Keeler, the edge of Confederation space." He looked up, his expression grim. "Long-range scanners are detecting significant debris fields ahead." Ambassador Keeler moved forward, all 4 eyes widening at the sight on the screen. "The Borealis system," the alien whispered. It was home to over 3 billion citizens. The view screen showed a devastated solar system. Where vibrant planets should have been, only shattered remnants remained. Chunks of continental crust drifted aimlessly, some still glowing with residual heat. The star at the system's center burned normally, illuminating the destruction in harsh, unforgiving light. "Tactical analysis," Reed commanded, her voice steadied despite the horrific scene. Davis worked his console quickly. "Scans indicate the attack occurred approximately 2 weeks ago. No life signs detected among the debris." He paused, adjusting the sensors. "Captain, I'm picking up unusual energy readings from the 4th orbital position." Reed turned to Keeler. "Is that significant?" The ambassador's skin paled to a lighter shade. "The 4th planet was Borealis Prime, the system capital. If the readings indicate what I fear, put it on screen," Reed ordered. The image shifted to show what remained of the 4th planet. Unlike the others, it hadn't been completely destroyed. Instead, dark, shifting masses covered its surface like living oil. Occasional flashes of energy pulsed through the mass. "It's a swarm nest," Keeler explained, voice trembling. "They've converted the planet's remaining resources into a breeding ground." Reed studied the image, her military mind already assessing tactical options. "How long before they move to another system?" "Days, perhaps hours," Keeler replied. "They consume until resources are depleted, then the entire swarm migrates." Reed turned to her crew. "Alert status 1. All weapons systems online. Inform the fleet tow." "Captain," the sensor officer interrupted. "Movement detected from the planet's dark side." The view screen shifted to show a cloud of small objects detaching from the planet's surface, organizing into formation with alarming speed. "Scout ships," Keeler said. "They've detected us." Reed didn't hesitate. "Battle stations. Defensive formation Delta. Lieutenant Davis, tactical assessment." Davis analyzed the approaching formation. Approximately 50 small craft, moving in coordinated patterns. Based on size and energy signatures, these appear to be reconnaissance vessels rather than main combatants. They're testing our capabilities, Reed concluded. Yes, Captain, Davis agreed. Recommend limited engagement, enough to demonstrate force without revealing our full tactical range. Reed nodded. Agreed. Order destroyers Phoenix and Valiant to intercept. Standard weapons only. Hold the modified systems in reserve. As the orders were relayed, the bridge crew watched the approaching swarm vessels with a mixture of apprehension and determination. For most, this was their first glimpse of the enemy they had traveled so far to confront. The two human destroyers broke formation, accelerating toward the incoming scouts. The swarm vessels, sensing the approach, split into smaller groups, attempting to surround the Earth ships. What happened next stunned even the human crew. The destroyers executed maneuvers that seemed to defy the laws of physics, their enhanced inertial dampeners allowing turns and accelerations that would have crushed most biological beings. Precision weapons fire struck the lead swarm vessels, causing them to disintegrate instantly. The remaining swarm scouts attempted to adjust their tactics, but the human vessels predicted each move, countering with devastating efficiency. Within minutes, half the scout force had been destroyed, while the human ships remained untouched. Ambassador Keeler stared at the tactical display in shock. Impossible, the alien murmured. Even our most advanced defense systems could never. Reed watched the battle with professional detachment. Call back our ships, she ordered. We've made our point. As the destroyers returned to formation, the remaining swarm vessels retreated toward their nest planet. They'll report back to the main swarm, Davis noted. We've lost the element of surprise. Perhaps, Reed replied, but we've gained something more valuable. She turned to face her bridge crew. We've proven that humanity can fight this enemy. And win. The Defiance's engines flared to life as Reed gave her next order. Set course for Confederation headquarters. It's time to take this fight deeper into contested space. The human fleet dropped out of warp near the Confederation's main defensive line. Through the Defiance's viewports, Captain Reed could see the alien armada, hundreds of ships arranged in a loose formation around a massive space station. The station itself was a marvel of engineering, resembling a giant snowflake with crystalline arms extending from a central hub. Impressive, Reed remarked. Ambassador Keeler stood beside her. Harmony Station. The combined defensive headquarters of 17 species. The alien's voice carried a note of pride, but also concern. It was never designed for war. As the human fleet approached, a flurry of communication signals bombarded their receivers. On the main screen, a diverse group of alien faces appeared, some vaguely humanoid, others completely foreign in structure. Their expressions were difficult to read, but their body language conveyed a mixture of hope and apprehension. Greetings, defenders of Earth, spoke a tall, willowy being with pale blue skin. I am High Commander Taro of the Confederation Defense Council. Your arrival is unexpected, despite Ambassador Keeler's assurances. Reed stepped forward. Captain Lisa Reed of the United Earth Defense Force. We received your distress call and have come to offer assistance. Commander Taro's large eyes blinked slowly. We are grateful, though I must admit, many among our ranks harbor concerns about involving Deathworlders in our conflict. Before Reed could respond, Admiral Wilson's voice cut in from his position on the command deck. With respect, Commander, you called us because your forces are losing this war. We're here to change that outcome. A tense silence followed until another alien counselor spoke up. This one resembled a large insectoid with compound eyes. The humans speak truth. Our conventional tactics have failed against the swarm. We must adapt or perish. 3 hours later, Reed, Davis, and Williams sat in a vast conference chamber aboard Harmony Station. Around them, military representatives from the Confederation species discussed integration plans. The atmosphere was strained. Your proposed attack formations violate our non-encirclement principles, argued a reptilian commander, pointing at Davis's tactical display. We cannot condone strategies that cause unnecessary suffering, even to the swarm. Davis struggled to maintain his composure. Commander, with respect, the swarm has destroyed 17 of your worlds. These aren't sentient beings with rights. They're a consuming force that will continue until stopped. All life deserves consideration, the reptilian insisted. Williams leaned toward Reed. They've been fighting with one hand tied behind their back, she whispered. No wonder they're losing. Reed nodded slightly. This cultural gap was proving more challenging than expected. The Confederation species had evolved in environments with few natural predators or competitive pressures. Their entire approach to conflict differed fundamentally from humanity's hard-won wisdom. In the medical bay of Harmony Station, Chief Medical Officer Alex Harper found himself surrounded by injured aliens from recent swarm encounters. Despite their exotic biologies, the principles of trauma care remained surprisingly universal. Harper worked quickly, applying regenerative gel to a wounded Lyran navigator. The feline-like alien watched him with curious eyes. Your touch is gentle for a Deathworlder, the Lyran remarked. Harper smiled. We're not just fighters, you know. Humans have a long tradition of healing as well. Yet you carry weapons even in your medical bay, the Lyran observed, nodding toward the sidearm at Harper's hip. Where I come from, sometimes you have to fight to protect those who can't fight for themselves, Harper explained as he finished the bandage. The ability to heal and the willingness to defend are two sides of the same coin. The Lyran considered this. Perhaps we have misjudged your species. On the station's command deck, Reed watched as human and alien crews attempted to coordinate a joint patrol mission. The process was chaotic at first. Communication protocols differed, tactical priorities clashed, and cultural misunderstandings abounded. This isn't working, Williams muttered as she tried to explain human engineering concepts to a confused alien technician. Reed was about to respond when alarm klaxons blared throughout the station. A harried Confederation officer rushed toward them. Swarm vessels detected. Multiple approach vectors. Reed snapped into action. How many? At least 300, the officer replied, mandibles clicking nervously. More than we've ever faced at once. Reed turned to Davis. No more time for debate. Deploy our ships according to human tactical protocols. If the Confederation wants to observe rather than participate, that's their choice. As the human fleet moved into defensive positions, the Confederation commanders watched in stunned silence. The Earth vessels arranged themselves in an aggressive formation that contradicted all their defensive doctrines. What are they doing? Commander Tarot asked, alarm evident in his voice. Ambassador Keeler stepped forward. They're fighting to win, Commander. Perhaps it's time we learned how. As the first wave of swarm vessels appeared on long-range scanners, human and alien crews looked at each other across control stations. Different biologies, different worlds, different histories. Yet in this moment, united by a common enemy and a growing sense of mutual respect. The alliance had been forged in theory. Now it would be tested in fire. The tactical display on the Defiance's bridge painted a grim picture. Hundreds of void swarm vessels advanced toward Harmony Station in 3 massive waves. Behind them loomed their largest ship yet, a planet killer that dwarfed even the largest Confederation vessels. They're targeting the Confederation capital, Lieutenant Davis said, his voice tight with tension. This isn't a random attack. They're going for a decisive strike. Captain Reed studied the display, mind racing through possible counter-strategies. Time to deployment. 17 minutes until first contact, Davis replied. Reed turned to the communications officer. Open a channel to Admiral Wilson and the Confederation Defense Council. When the connection established, Reed didn't waste time. The swarm is committing its full force. We need to unveil our second-phase weapons now. On screen, several Confederation representatives looked confused. Commander Tarot leaned forward. Second-phase weapons. We were not informed of additional capabilities. Admiral Wilson's expression remained neutral. There are certain technologies we thought it prudent to keep in reserve until absolutely necessary. The revelation sparked immediate protest among the alien commanders. Reed cut through the noise. We have weapons specifically calibrated to disrupt the swarm's biological structure, but deployment will require your forces to adjust their positions according to our tactical plan. Commander Tero's large eyes narrowed. You withheld information from your allies, and now we're sharing it when it matters most, Reed countered. The choice is simple. Trust us or lose your homeworld. After a tense moment, Tero nodded. Proceed. As the fleet reorganized, Engineer Williams supervised the activation of the specialized weapons systems in the Defiance's engineering bay. These weren't conventional weapons. They were based on the radiation vulnerabilities Williams had discovered in the swarm's cellular structure. Power levels stable, reported a technician. Targeting systems aligned. Williams nodded, checking the final calibrations. Once we fire these, the swarm will adapt quickly. We'll have one chance to hit their command structure. In a small hangar bay, Lieutenant Davis prepped his strike team. 6 soldiers equipped with powered armor and specialized infiltration gear. The mission parameters are clear, Davis told the team. While the main fleet engages the swarm forces, we'll use the diversion to penetrate their command vessel. He pulled up a holographic model. Based on our analysis, the swarm operates through distributed control nodes. We believe 7 primary nodes coordinate their actions. And if we take out these nodes? Asked Sergeant Ryan, the team's explosives specialist. We disrupt their ability to function as a unified force, Davis explained, even temporarily. On Earth, Admiral Wilson coordinated the broader strategy from the Orbital Command Center. Reports flooded in from across the fleet as human vessels moved into position alongside their Confederation allies. Sir, called an analyst, we've detected unusual energy fluctuations in the largest swarm vessel. They appear to be charging some kind of massive energy weapon. Wilson's expression remained grim. Target locked. Yes, sir. They're aiming directly at the Confederation homeworld. Wilson opened a secure channel to Captain Reed. The situation has escalated. You have authorization to deploy Protocol Omega. Reed's voice came back crisp and clear. Understood, Admiral. May God help us all. The battle began with a ferocity that stunned even the human forces. The swarm attacked with perfect coordination, their smaller vessels sacrificing themselves to clear paths for larger attackers. The human fleet responded with maneuvers that seemed reckless to their alien allies. Ships dove directly into swarm formations, firing specialized radiation weapons that caused entire sections of the enemy to dissolve into uncoordinated masses. Aboard the Defiance, Reed watched as Davis's strike team launched toward the massive swarm command ship. Their small, stealth-equipped craft disappeared against the backdrop of space. Strike team away, the tactical officer reported. Estimated insertion time, 4 minutes. Reed nodded. Begin main offensive. All ships. Execute pattern Sierra 9. The human fleet suddenly shifted formation, creating what appeared to be a critical weakness in their defensive line. The swarm, sensing opportunity, immediately redirected a significant portion of their forces toward the gap. They took the bait, Reed said quietly. As the swarm vessels crowded into the apparent vulnerability, the human ships activated their specialized radiation emitters simultaneously. A wave of invisible energy washed over the concentrated swarm forces. The effect was immediate and devastating. Swarm vessels began to break apart, their coordinated movements devolving into chaos. Some crashed into each other, while others drifted aimlessly. On the Confederation command channel, aliens watched in astonishment. By the ancestral light, breathed Commander Tero. They're actually doing it. However, the victory was short-lived. The remaining swarm vessels quickly adapted, restructuring themselves to resist the radiation. The massive command ship continued its approach toward the Confederation homeworld, its planet-killer weapon glowing with building energy. Reed's expression hardened. Now we see if Davis can complete his mission. Somewhere within that massive vessel, 6 humans fought against impossible odds to save billions of alien lives. The future of the newly formed alliance hung in the balance as the battle reached its decisive moment. The Defiance shuddered as another swarm attack struck its shields. On the bridge, Captain Reed gripped the arms of her command chair. The ship's hull groaned under the strain of continued assault. "Shields at 37%, reported the defensive systems officer, her voice steady despite the chaos. Reed nodded grimly. "Maintain position. We can't withdraw until Davis completes his mission." Through the view screen, Reed watched as the massive swarm command vessel continued its approach toward the Confederation homeworld. Its surface writhed with activity, like a sea of dark oil. At its center, a weapon of terrifying power gathered energy, preparing to fire. "Any communication from the strike team?" Reed asked. "Negative, Captain. Last transmission was 12 minutes ago, when they breached the outer hull." Reed checked the time. The radiation weapons had bought them precious minutes, but the swarm was adapting faster than expected. Around the Defiance, Confederation ships fought with newfound determination, inspired by the humans' willingness to sacrifice. Deep within the swarm command vessel, Lieutenant Davis and his team fought their way through corridors that seemed alive. The interior was a nightmarish blend of organic and mechanical components that shifted and moved as if breathing. "2 more control nodes neutralize," reported Sergeant Rand, placing explosive charges on a pulsing structure. 3 down, 4 to go. Davis checked his tactical display. Only 4 members of his original team remained. They had paid a heavy price for each node destroyed, but the effects were visible. Sections of the swarm vessel had become dormant, its coordinated attacks growing increasingly erratic. "Movement ahead," warned Corporal Foster, raising her weapon. "Big ones." From the shadows emerged larger swarm entities, not the drone-like creatures they had encountered earlier, but massive guardians with appendages that ended in sharp crystalline points. "They're protecting something important," Davis realized. "We're close to the primary node." The team braced for combat. Foster fired first, her modified weapon sending pulses of the specialized radiation directly into the nearest guardian. It recoiled, its form rippling in distress, but didn't fall. "They've adapted to the radiation," Davis shouted, dodging the sweeping attack that left deep gouges in the wall behind him. "Switch to physical munitions." The team adjusted tactics, fighting with the desperate efficiency that had made humans feared across the stars. Despite the Guardian's size advantage, the human soldiers moved with a speed and precision worn from generations of evolution on a dangerous world. One by one, the Guardians fell. Ryan was severely wounded, and Foster's armor had been breached in multiple places, but they pushed forward. Finally, they reached a chamber at the vessel's core. In the center pulsed a structure unlike anything they had seen, a massive crystalline brain that glowed with malevolent intelligence. Tendrils of energy connected it to the ship's systems. "The primary control node," Davis breathed. "Plant the charges. All of them." On the Defiance, the situation had grown dire. Shields had fallen to critical levels, and multiple systems reported damage. "Captain," called the tactical officer, "the swarm vessel is preparing to fire its main weapon. Impact on the Confederation homeworld estimated in 60 seconds. Reed's expression remained determined. "Divert all remaining power to forward shields. Set collision course with the command vessel's weapon port." The bridge fell silent as the crew realized what their captain was ordering. "Ma'am," the first officer said quietly, "that's a suicide run." "It's what we came here to do," Reed replied. "To protect those who cannot protect themselves." She opened a ship-wide channel. "All hands, prepare for impact. It has been my greatest honor to serve with each of you." As the Defiance accelerated toward the massive swarm vessel, Reed thought of Earth, of the families they had left behind, and of the billions of alien lives they might save with this final act of sacrifice. Suddenly, the tactical officer shouted, "Captain!" Multiple explosions detected within the swarm vessel. On the view screen, they watched as sections of the massive ship began to rupture from within. The energy building in its main weapon flickered and destabilized. "It's Davis," Reed realized. They've succeeded. The explosion from the primary control node cascaded through the swarm vessel systems. Davis and Ryan, the only survivors of the strike team, raced toward their extraction point as the structure collapsed around them. "The ship is breaking apart," Ryan gasped, clutching his wounded side. "We're not going to make it." Davis dragged his comrade forward. "Deathworlders don't give up, Sergeant. Not while there's still breath in our lungs." Across the battlefield, the effect was immediate and dramatic. Without its command structure, the swarm collective lost cohesion. Individual vessels drifted aimlessly or turned against each other in confusion. The Confederation fleet, seizing the opportunity, pressed the attack alongside their human allies. On Harmony Station, Commander Taro watched in amazement as victory transformed from impossible dream to reality. "They did it," Taro whispered. "The humans actually did it." 3 days later, Captain Reed stood in the Grand Assembly Hall of the Confederation capital. The Defiance had survived, though heavily damaged. Miraculously, Davis and Ryan had also been rescued, pulled from the disintegrating swarm vessel moments before its final collapse. Before her stood representatives of 17 alien species, their diverse forms filling the vast chamber. At the center, the Confederation High Council prepared to speak. The eldest counselor, a being of luminous energy contained within a crystalline form, addressed the assembled crowd. "For millennia, we observed Earth from afar, fearing the capabilities of those who evolved in such harsh conditions. We called you Deathworlders, a term of caution and fear." The counselor paused. "Today, we use this term with respect and gratitude. Your willingness to fight for those you had never met, to sacrifice for principles rather than advantage, has humbled us." The counselor gestured to a symbolic display behind them, a new emblem that incorporated Earth alongside the other Confederation worlds. "Humanity is hereby welcomed as full members of the Galactic Confederation, no longer isolated, no longer feared, but embraced as the defenders we never knew we needed." As applause filled the chamber, Reed thought about the message that had arrived in Earth's deep space monitoring stations just weeks ago. A desperate plea that had changed humanity's place in the cosmos forever. The Deathworlders had answered the call, and the galaxy would never be the same. The message arrived at Earth's deep space listening station Omega on a cold Tuesday morning. At first, it seemed like another burst of cosmic noise, the kind that kept the analysts busy sorting signal from static. But this was different. Lieutenant Dave Morris stared at his monitor, coffee forgotten as the pattern repeated itself. 20 years at the station, and he had never seen anything like it. Structured pulses, mathematical sequences, and what looked suspiciously like language. "Sir, you need to see this," Dave called to his supervisor, keeping his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. Station Commander Gail Porter leaned over his shoulder, her eyes widening as she processed what she was seeing. "Is that what I think it is?" Dave nodded slowly. "It's coming from the Andromeda sector. Definitely artificial. Definitely not one of ours." Within hours, the message had been routed to every major space agency and military headquarters on Earth. The pattern was undeniable. This was a distress call from deep space. From aliens. Admiral Tom Reed sat at the head of the United Defense Council table, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic display showing the translated message. After decades of searching the stars, humanity finally had proof they weren't alone. But their first contact would not be a peaceful exchange of knowledge. It would be a cry for help. "The translation software is confident," explained the lead linguist, Dr. Robert Lee. "The message comes from a species calling themselves the Lumari. Their home system is under threat from something called the Dominion Empire. They're asking for any assistance." "Why us?" asked General Williams, voicing what everyone was thinking. "We haven't even colonized Mars properly, and some aliens light years away are asking for our help." Admiral Reed studied the data scrolling beside the message. "According to this, they've sent this distress call to hundreds of systems. We're probably just one of many who received it. But will anyone else answer? Dr. Lee asked quietly. That was the question that kept Admiral Reed awake that night. Earth had its problems. Climate refugees, resource wars barely held in check by the United Nations, political tensions that threatened to boil over at any moment. But they also had the largest combined fleet of space-capable vessels ever assembled, built during the Second Cold War, and now mainly used for orbital defense and Mars missions. The next morning, Reed addressed the Council again. The room was tense, filled with military and political leaders from every major nation. I propose we answer this call, he said, his voice strong and clear. For all of human history, we've wondered if we're alone in the universe. Now we know we're not. And our first act in this larger community should be to help those in need. It could be a trap, warned the Chinese representative, or a test. Or it could be exactly what it seems, a civilization about to be wiped out. Reed countered. The Lumari describe themselves as pacifists. They have technology, but no weapons. Their star charts match our observations. Everything checks out. President Garcia leaned forward. What exactly are you suggesting, Admiral? I'm suggesting we send our best ship to make contact. The UES Vengeance is faster than anything we've built before. Thanks to the new fusion drives, we can reach the coordinates within 3 months. The room erupted in argument. Some nations were eager to establish first contact, others cautious about risking human lives for alien strangers, and some simply afraid of what they might find out there. Admiral Reed waited for the noise to die down before he spoke again. We've spent our entire existence fighting each other over this small blue dot. Maybe it's time we fought for someone else for a change. The vote was close, but in the end, the mission was approved. As Admiral Reed left the council chamber, he caught Dr. Lee smiling. "What are you thinking, Doctor?" he asked. "I'm thinking," said Lee, "that the Lumari had no way of knowing they were calling Deathworlders for help." Reed raised an eyebrow. Deathworlders. That's what they might call us. Earth is harsher than most habitable planets, stronger gravity, extreme weather, dangerous wildlife. It made us tough, and now that toughness might save a species we've never even met. Reed nodded slowly. Let's hope the Dominion isn't ready for Deathworlders. Captain Lisa Ward stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, watching as the strange blue-green planet grew larger on the main screen. After 3 months in deep space, they had finally reached the Lumari homeworld. The journey had been long but uneventful, giving her crew time to prepare for humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. "System scan complete, Captain," reported Lieutenant Ben Taylor from the science station. "Atmosphere is oxygen-rich, similar to Earth but with higher levels of noble gases. Surface is 82% water. And there's definitely a civilization down there. I'm picking up energy signatures consistent with a technological society." Lisa nodded. "Any signs of the Dominion?" "None yet," said Major James Cooper, her tactical officer. His hand rested near the weapons controls, a habit from years of military service. "But according to the Lumari message, we still have a few weeks before they arrive." "Let's hope they were right about that," Lisa said. "Dr. Miller, are you ready for this?" Dr. Anna Miller looked up from her station, where she had been reviewing xenobiology notes for the 1,000th time. As the ship's chief scientist, the pressure was on her to understand the aliens they were about to meet. "As ready as I'll ever be," she replied with a nervous smile. "Though all my training was theoretical, no one expected first contact to happen like this." Lisa understood that feeling all too well. None of them had expected to be here, racing across the galaxy to help aliens they'd never met against enemies they knew nothing about. But the decision had been made, and now they carried the hopes of both Earth and the Lumari with them. "Taking us into orbit," announced the pilot. "I'm detecting what appears to be a space station at coordinates 227 Mark IV. "Hail them," Lisa ordered. For a tense moment, there was no response. Then the screen flickered, and they found themselves looking at an alien face. The Lumari had smooth, pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Large, almond-shaped eyes dominated a face with no visible nose, just two small breathing slits. When it spoke, its thin lips barely moved, but a melodic voice came through the translator. Earth vessel, we welcome you. I am Vel, first speaker of the Lumari Collective. We honestly did not believe anyone would come. Lisa stepped forward. I'm Captain Lisa Ward of the United Earth ship Vengeance. We received your distress call and have come to offer assistance. Vel's large eyes blinked rapidly. Humans, we have heard legends of your kind, but many believe you were just stories. Beings from a high-gravity world, with bones of stone and hearts that never stop fighting. James exchanged glances with Anna. Legends. How did aliens have legends about humans when this was first contact? We've brought supplies, medical equipment, and defensive capabilities. Lisa continued. We'd like to meet with your leaders to discuss how we can help against the Dominion threat. Vel seemed to hesitate. Yes, of course. But I must warn you. Our people will be startled by your appearance. We are a peaceful species. We have not known war for 10,000 years. Then how did you know to call us Deathworlders? James asked suddenly. The galaxy is vast, but information travels, Vel explained. Your solar system has been observed from afar. Your broadcasts have leaked into space. Some species trade in information about potential new civilizations. We knew enough to send our call in your direction, though we never truly expected beings like you to answer. An hour later, Lisa, James, and Anna stood in a gleaming hall made of what looked like crystal and living plants. Lumari officials moved around them cautiously, casting nervous glances at the humans, particularly at James, whose military bearings seemed to make them especially uncomfortable. Their bodies are so dense, one Lumari whispered to another. And look at the muscle structure. Predator species, certainly. They're afraid of us, Anna said quietly. Lisa nodded. We need to change that. They need allies, not more things to fear. Vel approached with another Lumari, this one wearing elaborate blue robes. Captain Ward, this is Elder Tur, our highest official. Elder, these are the humans who have answered our call. The Elder studied them with ancient eyes. You have traveled far to help those you do not know. Why? Lisa met the alien's gaze. Because it was the right thing to do. A simple answer, the Elder said. Let us hope it is enough against what comes. The Dominion fleet was detected crossing the outer sensor network yesterday. They will be here in 2 weeks. James stepped forward. Then we'd better get started. The Lumari Central Council chamber was unlike any meeting room humans had ever seen. Walls of living crystal pulsed with soft light, while floating platforms served as seats for the alien dignitaries. Captain Lisa Ward and her team stood at the center of it all, keenly aware of the hundreds of Lumari eyes watching their every move. Elder Ter raised a slender hand for silence. Our guests have requested to address the full council. We will hear them. Lisa stepped forward, the gravity slightly lighter than Earth's, making her movements feel oddly buoyant. Thank you for welcoming us. I'll be direct. The Dominion force heading your way is coming to conquer, not negotiate. We've analyzed the data you provided about their previous attacks on other worlds. Their pattern is always the same. Swift invasion, resource extraction, and either enslavement or elimination of the native population. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Many Lumari covered their face slits in what Dr. Miller had explained was a gesture of distress. What can a single ship do against such a threat? Asked a Lumari counselor. We appreciate your courage, but the Dominion fleet numbers in the hundreds. Major James Cooper stepped forward. One ship can't stop them, but Earth can send more. We've already transmitted the situation back home. Lisa continued. Earth's United Defense Council is preparing a fleet. Our world has never faced an alien threat before, but we've spent centuries preparing for the possibility. Why would you do this for us? Asked another counselor. We have nothing to offer in return. Dr. Anna Miller smiled gently. That's not entirely true. Your technological achievements are remarkable, especially in fields like energy manipulation and biological sciences. Earth would benefit greatly from an alliance with the Lumari. James nodded. And in return, we offer what you need most right now: protection. Elder Terror studied the humans thoughtfully. You come from what we would call a death world. High gravity, extreme weather patterns, dangerous predators. It has made your kind resilient in ways we are not. That's putting it mildly, James said, demonstrating by lifting a metal Lumari ceremonial object that would have required 3 of their kind to move. What you see as strange and frightening about us are exactly the traits that will help defend your world. The council debated for hours, but in the end, they had little choice. The Dominion was coming, and the humans offered the only hope of survival. 3 days later, the first reinforcements from Earth arrived. The UES Dauntless, a heavy carrier loaded with fighters and Marines. Its captain, Mark Wilson, didn't bother hiding his amazement at the Lumari technology. Their energy grid could revolutionize our power systems, he told Lisa as they toured the alien capital city. And their medical tech. Did you see what they did for Jenkins? Healed a broken arm in minutes. More ships arrived daily as Earth emptied its orbital defenses to protect a species they'd only just met. Some human nations had been hesitant, but recordings of the gentle Lumari and the brutal Dominion attack records had swayed public opinion. This wasn't just about saving aliens. It was about humanity's first stand as a galactic citizen. In the Lumari War Room, a concept they had to create specifically for this crisis, James worked with the alien engineers to upgrade Earth's weapons with Lumari energy technology. Your vessels have impressive armor and weapons, noted Vel, watching as James tested a newly enhanced targeting system. You built them to fight each other. James nodded grimly. We've spent too much time fighting ourselves. Maybe defending you will help us grow beyond that. Meanwhile, Dr. Miller made a breakthrough by studying Lumari historical records. The Dominion has been expanding for centuries, she reported to Lisa. But they've never encountered humans before. They don't know what we're capable of. Lisa looked out at the growing fleet of Earth ships in orbit around the beautiful Lumari world. Soon, the Dominion would learn exactly what Deathworlders could do when protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Send word to all Earth vessels, she ordered. Operation Shield Wall begins now. The Lumari capital buzzed with activity unlike anything the peaceful species had seen in millennia. Human soldiers moved with purpose through the crystal streets, setting up defense systems and training the few Lumari volunteers who had stepped forward to help. The contrast between the two species could not have been more stark. The humans compact and dense-muscled, the Lumari tall and willowy with movements like flowing water. Admiral Tom Reed had arrived with the third wave of ships from Earth, bringing the total human fleet to 42 vessels of various sizes. He now stood in the newly established command center, studying holographic maps of the Lumari system. The Dominion will most likely emerge here, he said, pointing to the outer reaches of the system. Based on their previous attack patterns, they'll send scout ships first, then bring in their main fleet once they've assessed the situation. Major James Cooper nodded. We've positioned sensor arrays throughout the system. They won't catch us by surprise. What about the civilian population? Asked Lisa. After weeks on the Lumari homeworld, she had grown fond of the gentle aliens. The capital city alone has over 3 million residents. We've been working with Lumari officials to establish underground shelters, Admiral Reed answered. We can't evacuate the planet, but we can protect the population centers. Nearby, Dr. Anna Miller worked alongside Lumari scientists, studying samples of Dominion technology salvaged from previous attacks on other worlds. The Lumari had collected this data through their extensive trade networks, but had never used it for military purposes. Look at this, Anna said, waving James over to her station. The Dominion ships use a specific type of radiation shielding that has a critical weakness. James leaned in closer. What kind of weakness? Their shields block most energy weapons, but they're vulnerable to specific electromagnetic frequencies, Anna explained. If we can modify our weapons to target those frequencies, we could penetrate their defenses, James finished, a rare smile crossing his face. Excellent work, Doctor. Outside the command center, human Marines had set up a training ground where they worked with the small group of Lumari who had volunteered to fight. Despite their pacifistic nature, some Lumari had recognized the need to defend their home. Sergeant Bill Foster watched as the aliens attempted to lift the lightweight practice weapons the humans had designed for them. Though physically weaker than humans, the Lumari possessed remarkable speed and coordination. That's it. Bill encouraged a Lumari named Mira, who had finally managed to complete the obstacle course. You're getting faster every day. Mira's skin flushed a deeper blue with exertion. It is difficult to overcome thousands of years of peaceful evolution, she admitted, but we must learn. You're doing better than any of us expected, Bill said honestly. And remember, your job isn't frontline combat. You'll be defending your own people if the Dominion breaks through our lines. In another part of the city, Elder Tur met with Captain Lisa Ward to share ancient Lumari knowledge that might help in the coming battle. Our ancestors were not always peaceful, the Elder explained, showing Lisa historical records. Before our Great Enlightenment, we too knew war. These records contain information about our system's natural defenses. Lisa studied the data with growing interest. The magnetic field around your fourth moon, it's unusually powerful. Yes. In ancient times, our ships used it to hide from enemies. It disrupts most scanning technology. This could be useful, Lisa said, already thinking of how to incorporate this natural feature into their battle plans. That evening, Admiral Reed called together all human commanders for a final strategy session. The room fell silent as he activated a holographic display showing both the human and Lumari worlds side by side. In 3 days, we expect the Dominion to arrive, he said gravely. We're fighting for more than just the Lumari now. We're fighting for Earth too. If the Dominion conquers this world, they'll eventually find their way to ours. He looked around at the determined faces of his officers. But we have advantages they don't expect. They've never fought humans before. They don't know what Deathworlders are capable of when protecting those who cannot protect themselves. For Earth and Lumari, someone said from the back of the room. Reed nodded. For both our worlds. Now let's finalize Operation Thunderclap. When the Dominion arrives, we'll give them a welcome they'll never forget. The alert came at 300 hours, local Lumari time. Major James Cooper was reviewing defense protocols when the proximity sensors blared to life. Multiple contacts detected at the edge of the system, reported Lieutenant Taylor, his fingers flying over the holographic controls. 6 vessels, Dominion configuration. Scout ships, just as we predicted. Admiral Reed entered the command center, his uniform crisp despite the early hour. Show me, he ordered, and the main display filled with images of the approaching ships. They were unlike anything humans had built, asymmetrical craft with jutting spines and pulsing red energy signatures. They're scanning the system, Taylor said. Standard search pattern. Reed nodded to Cooper. Time to implement Phase 1. Throughout the human fleet, orders were transmitted with calm efficiency. 6 ships, smaller, faster craft, detached from the main fleet and took up positions behind the Lumari system's fourth moon, using its powerful magnetic field to mask their signatures, just as Lisa had suggested using the ancient Lumari knowledge. On the bridge of the UES Vengeance, Captain Lisa Ward watched the tactical display. The Dominion scouts have detected the Lumari homeworld, she reported over the secure channel. They're changing course to investigate. They haven't spotted our main fleet yet. Reed's voice came back. We're still hidden in the sensor shadow of the gas giant. Maintain position. As the Dominion scouts approached the Lumari world, they showed no sign of detecting the human ambush waiting for them. The plan was working so far. The scouts would report back to their main fleet that the planet was defenseless, just as the Lumeri had always been. Except this time, it wasn't. "They're in position," Cooper reported, watching as the Dominion scouts entered the predetermined engagement zone. "Ready on your mark, Admiral." Reed took a deep breath. Humanity's first interstellar battle was about to begin. "All ships, execute Phase 1. Weapons free." The 6 human vessels burst from behind the moon, their engines flaring to full power. Enhanced with Lumeri technology, they closed the distance to the Dominion scouts in seconds. The element of surprise was complete. The Dominion had no idea anyone besides the pacifistic Lumeri awaited them. "Target their communication arrays first," Lisa ordered from the Vengeance as her ship led the attack. "Don't let them warn the main fleet." The human ships opened fire, their weapons precisely calibrated to the frequency vulnerability Dr. Miller had discovered. The first Dominion scouts' shields flickered and failed almost immediately, its hull rupturing under the barrage. "Direct hit," Taylor shouted, unable to contain his excitement. Their shields couldn't withstand our modified weapons. 2 more Dominion scouts were quickly disabled, but the remaining 3 began to respond with alarming speed. They fired back with energy weapons that left glowing trails across space. "Evasive maneuvers," Lisa called as the Vengeance shuddered under a near miss. "Remember your training." The battle intensified as the Dominion scouts recovered from their initial surprise. They were formidable enemies, their technology more advanced than humanity's in many ways. But the humans had advantages of their own: surprise, determination, and the modifications provided by Lumeri science. "The largest scout is attempting to flee the system," reported Taylor. "They're charging what appears to be a faster-than-light drive." "We can't let them report back," Cooper said urgently. "If they warn the main fleet about our presence, we lose our advantage." Lisa made a split-second decision. "Divert all power to forward thrusters and weapons. We're going to catch that ship." The Vengeance surged forward, straining at its structural limits as it pursued the fleeing Dominion vessel. Warnings blared across the bridge as systems overloaded under the strain. "We're within firing range," Taylor called out. "But we'll only get 1 shot before they jump." "Make it count," Lisa said firmly. The Vengeance fired, a concentrated beam of energy striking the Dominion Scout's engine section. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the alien ship's drive core flared blindingly bright before going dark. "Direct hit. Their drive is disabled." Across the system, the other human ships reported success. All 6 Dominion scouts had been neutralized, 4 destroyed, 2 disabled, and being boarded for intelligence gathering. Admiral Reed's voice came through the comm system, calm but with an undercurrent of pride. "All ships, Phase 1 complete. Well done." But this was just the beginning. Based on recovered data, we now know the main Dominion fleet is larger than we anticipated, over 200 vessels. And they'll be here in less than 48 hours. On the Lumeri homeworld, the alien civilians watched the distant flashes of battle with a mixture of fear and hope. For the first time in their long history, someone was fighting to protect them. And the Deathworlders had drawn first blood. The Dominion fleet arrived exactly as predicted, a vast armada of warships that filled the long-range sensors with ominous red markers. 237 vessels in total, far outnumbering the human defensive force. At their center was a massive flagship, twice the size of anything Earth had ever built. In the Lumeri Command Center, Admiral Reed studied the enemy formation with a grim expression. "They're not being subtle about this. Full attack formation." The intelligence gathered from the captured scout ships had revealed the name of the Dominion commander, Drac, a veteran of 100 conquests who had never known defeat. His tactics were ruthless but effective. Overwhelming force applied without mercy. "All ships, battle stations," Reed ordered. "Execute Operation Thunderclap. May Earth's strength be with you all." Throughout the human fleet, crews prepared for what many feared might be their final battle. They were outnumbered, far from home, fighting for aliens they barely knew against an enemy with superior technology. But they also had advantages: the element of surprise, modified weapons that could penetrate Dominion shields, and the sheer determination that had allowed humanity to survive on their harsh homeworld. Captain Lisa Ward stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, watching as her crew worked with quiet efficiency. "Status report," she called. "All systems at combat readiness," Taylor responded. "Lumari energy enhancements are stable. Shields at maximum." Lisa nodded. "Take us into position. Remember, we need to hold them at the outer orbital zone. Don't let them reach the planet." The human fleet moved into formation, creating a defensive line between the approaching Dominion ships and the Lumari homeworld. On the surface below, Dr. Anna Miller worked frantically with Lumari scientists to activate the planetary shield grid, their last line of defense if the fleet failed. "Energy output at 70%, a Lumari technician reported. "The system was never designed for military purposes. We're pushing it beyond safe limits." "It needs to hold," Anna replied, making another adjustment, "just long enough for our ships to do their job." The first shots of the battle came from the Dominion fleet, lances of crimson energy that streaked across space toward the human defenders. The human ships scattered according to plan, their formation breaking apart in a carefully choreographed dance that made them difficult targets. "Return fire," Admiral Reed commanded. "Targeting protocols as discussed. Focus on their lighter vessels first." The human fleet responded, their weapons finding the vulnerable frequencies in the Dominion shields. Several enemy ships flared and went dark, but there were always more to take their place. As the battle intensified, it became clear that despite their preparations, the humans were being pushed back. The Dominion ships pressed forward relentlessly, their superior numbers beginning to tell. "We can't hold them," came a desperate call from the UES Dauntless as it took a direct hit to its port side. Engines failing. On the Vengeance, Lisa made a split-second decision. "We need to draw their flagship away from the main battle. If we can separate Drac from his fleet, we might disrupt their command structure." "That's suicide, Captain," Major Cooper warned. "Their flagship outguns us 3-1. "Then we'll just have to be faster and smarter," Lisa replied. "Set course directly for the Dominion flagship. All power to forward shields." The Vengeance broke from the defensive line, accelerating toward the heart of the enemy fleet. Several Dominion vessels moved to intercept, but the human ship, enhanced with Lumari technology, slipped past them. "We've got their attention," Taylor reported as the massive Dominion flagship began to turn toward them. "They're powering up their main weapon. Evasive pattern Delta," Lisa ordered. "Keep them focused on us." The flagship fired, a beam of concentrated energy cutting through space where the Vengeance had been moments before. The human ship rolled and returned fire, its enhanced weapons causing visible damage to the flagship's outer hull. But the Vengeance couldn't maintain its attack for long. A second blast from the flagship caught the human vessel along its starboard side, tearing through armor and exposing several decks to space. "Hull breach, decks 4-7. Taylor shouted over the blaring alarms. "We're losing power." Lisa grabbed the command console as the ship shuddered violently. "Set course for the fourth moon. We need to make an emergency landing." As the damaged Vengeance limped away from the battle, Lisa looked back at the tactical display. The human fleet was being decimated. Half their ships were destroyed or disabled, and the Dominion forces were pushing ever closer to the Lumari homeworld. "Send a message to Admiral Reed," she said quietly. "Tell him it's time for Operation Thunderclaps' final phase." Despite the seemingly desperate situation, a hint of hope remained in her voice. The battle was going exactly as they had planned. The Lumari homeworld hung in space, a blue-green jewel now surrounded by the wreckage of battle. The Dominion fleet had pushed through the human defensive line, and now moved toward the planet in what appeared to be an unstoppable wave. Admiral Reed watched from the command center of his flagship, the UES Intrepid, as the enemy closed in for what they surely thought was their final victory. "Status of Operation Thunderclap," Reed asked calmly, despite the chaos of battle reports flooding in. All ships report ready, responded his communications officer. The Vengeance has successfully made emergency landing on the fourth moon. Captain Ward and surviving crew are safe. Reed nodded. And the Lumari energy grid. Dr. Miller reports it's at full capacity, sir. They're ready on your command. Reed took a deep breath. Everything had led to this moment. The apparent retreat of the human fleet, the sacrifice of so many brave crews, it had all been part of the plan. A plan that depended on the Dominion believing they were winning. Send the signal. All ships execute final phase. Now, throughout the system, the surviving human vessels suddenly changed course. Instead of continuing their retreat, they formed a ring around the Dominion fleet, keeping their distance but maintaining position. On the Dominion flagship, Commander Drac watched with confusion as the human ships ceased firing and moved into this strange formation. What are they doing? He demanded of his tactical officer. Why have they stopped fighting? Before his question could be answered, something unexpected happened. The Lumari planet below began to glow with a strange blue light. Energy patterns spread across its surface like a web, pulsing with increasing intensity. In the planetary control center, Dr. Anna Miller worked alongside her Lumari colleagues, their fingers dancing across control panels as they channeled the planet's entire power grid into one massive surge. Energy conversion at maximum, reported Vel, who had joined the defense effort. The human modifications to our grid are holding. Now, Anna called out. The planet released a pulse of energy that expanded outward in a perfect sphere. As it reached the position of the human ships, each vessel activated special devices built with Lumari technology. The energy wave passed through them and was focused, amplified, and redirected toward the Dominion fleet caught in the center. The effect was immediate and devastating. The specially calibrated energy wave struck the Dominion ships at precisely the frequency Dr. Miller had identified as their weakness. Throughout the enemy fleet, shields failed and weapons systems went dark. The massive energy pulse had overloaded their technology, leaving them defenseless. All human ships, advance and engage. Admiral Reed ordered. Target weapons and propulsion systems. We want as many prisoners as possible. The human fleet surged forward, now facing an enemy that could no longer effectively fight back. On the Dominion flagship, Commander Drac watched in disbelief as his mighty armada was systematically disabled by the very prey he had come to conquer. This is impossible, he growled. The Lumari are pacifists. They have no weapons. They didn't, his second-in-command observed grimly. But the humans do. As the battle turned decisively in favor of the Earth-Lumari alliance, the Vengeance's shuttle lifted off from the fourth moon. Captain Lisa Ward had refused to stay behind, while the operation she had helped plan was executed. The flagship, she told her pilot. Take us directly to the Dominion flagship. Minutes later, Lisa stood on the bridge of the enemy vessel, facing Commander Drac himself. The alien commander towered over her, his armored exoskeleton making him seem even larger, but the defeat in his eyes was unmistakable. In the name of Earth and the Lumari people, I accept your surrender, Lisa stated firmly. Drac's translator conveyed his grudging response. You are not like the others we have conquered. What are you? We're humans, Lisa answered simply. Deathworlders, as some call us. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. It made us stubborn. In the days that followed, news of the human victory spread throughout the galaxy. The Galactic Council, a body the humans had not even known existed, sent representatives to the Lumari homeworld. They came not just to witness the aftermath of the battle, but to meet the species that had done what many thought impossible, defeated the Dominion Empire in open warfare. Elder Tyre and Admiral Reed stood side by side as the council representatives arrived. Among them were members of a dozen different species, each more exotic than the last. The council has observed your actions with great interest, said the lead representative, a being of living crystal similar to the Lumari structures. For centuries, we have debated whether to contact Earth. Many feared your warlike tendencies would make you dangerous neighbors. And now, Reed asked. Now we see that the same strength that makes you dangerous also makes you powerful allies. You fought not for conquest or resources, but to protect a species that could offer you little in return. This speaks well of your character. Elder Terror stepped forward. The humans are welcome among the Lumari for all time. They have earned their place not just as allies, but as friends. As the formal ceremonies concluded, Lisa found herself looking up at the stars visible through the crystal dome of the Lumari Council chamber. Somewhere out there was Earth, the harsh world that had prepared humanity for this moment without them even knowing it. What happens now? Dr. Miller asked, joining her. Lisa smiled. Now we go home and tell everyone that we're not alone anymore. And that the universe just got a lot bigger and more interesting. And a lot safer, added Major Cooper, now that the galaxy knows not to mess with Deathworlders.